Welcome back to my YouTube channel. In this week's lesson we're going to tackle In a Sentimental Mood by Duke Ellington. This is a beautifully somber and slow jazz ballad in a minor key that really allows the melody to breathe, and we'll begin by going through the basic changes. This chord progression contains some real key elements of the jazz style, things that you'll find in hundreds of other songs, not just jazz, pop as well. Okay, so let's jump straight in. So we're in the key of D minor. Now the first two bars could be nothing more than just 2 bars of D minor if we were looking to play it the most simple possible way, but we're going to add some movement to those 2 bars of D minor, and this is something that to me is an essential part of the fabric of this song, and it's stuff you can do in any song when you're on a static minor chord for any prolonged period of time. So we're going to play something that's referred to as a line cliche. This is how it sounds. So the way that a line cliche works is simply that we find the root note of our chord somewhere buried within the middle of the shape. Here it is on the 7th fret of the G string. And then we're going to take that note and descend in semitones until we reach the 6th. Now we're going to try and retain the rest of the chord shape while we do that. So that gives us these 4 chords: D minor, D minor major 7th, D minor 7th, and D minor 6. Now that 4th chord can be a little tricky. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn this into a 3-note voicing by simply removing the D string from the shape and then planting that little finger where the 3rd finger currently is, just to make it even more comfortable. Now you've got your 3-note voicing for a D minor 6th. This is the same thing we've used a lot, rooted off the low E string, only now it's on the A string. Okay, the other thing, the D minor major 7th, can be a little tricky if you're not used to getting this concave kind of bend in the 2nd finger. You could do it without doing that. You could try and get all 4 fingers involved. But that's not quite as elegant, and it doesn't sound as smooth as you're going through the changes. So I would recommend trying to learn to do this bending of the 2nd finger. It's something you'll get a lot of use out of, especially in jazz. You know, think of your minor 7th chords rooted on the D string. They require that technique as well. And again, you could play them this way, but commonly if you're playing chords like this, you also want the little finger spare so you can add the 11. That kind of thing. So yeah, I recommend learning to do that technique for sure. Okay, then we're going to go to G minor, where again we could just play 2 bars of G minor, but we're going to apply the line cliche idea again. So take your G minor bar chord here, rooted on the low E string. Find the root somewhere in the middle, here it is, 5th fret of the D string. That's going to descend in semitones till we reach the 6th, and we're going to try not to disturb the chord unless we really have to. So yeah, we really have to here. So we're ending up on that G minor 6 voicing, again just like our 3-note voicing, only now we're barring the B string as well. So now you've got G minor to G minor major 7th to G minor 7 to G minor 6. Now we only do one beat there before going back to A7. That's the 5 of D minor, and that's where it takes us. Full bar of D minor. And then a D dominant 7th, we're going to put a 9 on. And then a 2-5-1 in our parent major key of F. So remember that the key of D minor exists within the key of F major, so we can kind of resolve to either part of the key. I like to think of the 1, the F major, as sort of the light side of the key, and then the dark side of the key, the relative minor, starting on the 6th. So we started very firmly in the, the dark side of the D minor key there, and now we've just 2-5-1'd to the major, the relative major. But then, again, we're going to go to the A7 because we want to get back to D minor to start our second A section. Okay, so here's the first A section. 3, 4. Now we could just recycle all of that and play it again for our second A section. But in the spirit of curiosity and the spirit of learning things, let's look at another way of playing our line cliché on the D minor. So originally we found the root in the middle of the shape and descended that in semitones. But what if we do it with the root in the bass? It can sound extra dramatic. So that's going to sound like this. So we're starting with D minor again, but then we've got to drop that D bass note down to D flat. Now above that we're going to build this shape, 3rd fret of the D string, and then bar the 2nd fret for the G and the B strings. Now you've got a D flat augmented chord, but in this context this really again would be a D minor major 7th. The major 7th is in the bass and on top. Now taking this same process through again, we're going to flatten that D flat down to C, and then build what we can that resembles a D minor chord. So this looks like an F chord, right? This is F over C. This is just the middle chunk of an F major bar chord. But again, through the lens of D minor, this is D minor 7 with a flat 7 in the bass. And then that bass note moves down one more time to B, and we build this shape that again looks like a B minor 7 flat 5, but really it's a D minor 6 with the 6th in the bass. In fact, if you took that bass note away, you can clearly see the D minor triad sitting up on top there. Sounds really cool. Always nice to freshen things up a bit. Okay, and then we're going to go to G minor again, but this time we'll keep that the way we had it in the first A section. Line cliché running down the D string. A7, D minor, to D dominant 7 where we've gone for the D9. 2-5-1 to the F. Now A flat 7. That's the final chord of the second A section. The reason that's there is the B section changes key to the key of D flat. A flat is the 5 of D flat. So we play A flat dominant 7 to open the door to the key change in the B section. So the B section is kind of interesting. Really what it boils down to is a 1-6-2-5 in D flat played 3 times round. Now if we look at that in terms of just bass notes, that would be this. D flat, B flat, E flat, A flat. For the first of our 3 cycles round that progression, we're going to play some really pretty diatonic chords. So diatonic meaning all the notes in these chords are found somewhere within the D flat major scale. Okay, so we're going to go D flat major 7th, B flat minor 7th, E flat minor 9 to the A flat 13. Notice how we've kept the same note on top of all of those chords. This F note on the B string 6th fret. Okay, now the second of these 3 cycles is a little different. We start bringing in some interesting notes from outside of the key. Also, the melody gets really spicy at this point. So as a rhythm player, for things like this, I quite like to be kind of stealthy and stay out of the way of the melody, especially when it's kind of crunchy sounding. So we're going to go with some 3-note voicings and stay within sort of the more lower range of the instrument. So D flat major 7th, 3-note voicing. B flat dominant 7th, 3-note voicing. E flat dominant, 3-note voicing. A flat dominant, 3-note voicing. So you got D flat major 7, B flat 7, E flat 7, A flat 7. Now a quick theory detour there. You could say that the B flat 7 is the 5 of 2, the E flat 7 is the 5 of 5, the A flat 7 is the 5. Takes us round to our 3rd cycle on this 1-6-2-5, where we're going to go back to the way we played it on the first of those 3 cycles, back to the diatonic way. D flat major 7 to B flat minor 7, E flat minor 9, A flat 13, but then a quick stop off at the A flat 7 just to smooth out the change to this G minor 11, C7. So again, we've got the 2-5 in F. Now this is a little bit of a decoy 2-5. It doesn't resolve to F, it goes to the A7 next, because we actually want to get back to the D minor to play a 3rd and final A section. So that's going to sound like this. 2-5 in F, then the 5 of D minor, resolving to D minor at the beginning of the 3rd and final A section. So just so we can hear the beauty of... So just to put some of this in context, I'm going to play from the second from last bar of the 2nd A section, where we have that beautiful key change that takes us to the B section. And then I'll play through all the way to the first couple of bars of the final A section. Okay, here we go. 3, 4. B section. A section. We're going to do the same as the first one. For an ending, I like to do this little cheeky shift a semitone up, where instead of going to F major 7 next and resolving that 2-5 to the 1, we're going to go up a semitone to F sharp or G flat major 7th. So that's going to sound pretty cool. G minor 7, C7, and then drop it back to where it belongs. Now I've gone for kind of an ambitious voicing on that penultimate chord. On the sheet you'll see that we've gone for this. Does sound pretty cool. So that's a G flat major 7th, 3-note voicing, but I'm barring the 1st fret from the A string down, so I can add the 3rd, and I can also add the crucial spicy note there, the sharp 11, or the flattened 5th, major 7 on top. And then when we go to the F major 7, I'm including the open E string. Okay, so those are the basic changes for In a Sentimental Mood. Now remember, as always, you can go to the links in the description to get these lesson materials. I always type everything up very thoroughly, including finger numbers. So I'd recommend getting those sheets and printing them out so you've got them in front of you as we walk through these things. Within the lesson materials, I'll include my backing track, as well as PDF and Guitar Pro files in tab and notation. You can join my Patreon for a small monthly cost where you get unlimited access to all of the lesson materials for all of my videos, as well as a ton of bonus stuff, transcriptions and Q&As and the like. If Patreon isn't your thing, you can always purchase just this lesson specifically at the Gumroad link. Your support really does mean so much to me, and it allows me to keep doing these videos and making them better each time. Okay, so on to the melody. Now, most of this melody sits within a D minor pentatonic scale, and it's very sparse and you can really afford to let the notes hang, hold them for a while and add some beautiful vibrato to them. So the first thing we hear is a pickup phrase that starts on beat 2 of the bar, and it's a run of 8th notes. So we play 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. That run started on the F note and then ascended the D minor pentatonic scale for 1 octave before we move out of position and move up to the 8th fret. This note then gets held for 1 bar, adds some nice slow vibrato to it. The next phrase we're going to play adds 1 extra note into the pentatonic scale. See if you can spot where it is. So maybe you noticed that this 5th fret of the B string isn't part of the pentatonic scale. This is the 9th degree of your D scale. It's a beautiful sound. It's kind of imparting the sound of that D minor 9th chord. Now I'm not going to go into excruciating detail about every phrase and every finger placement. All of that is on the sheets, I assure you. But in the lesson I'm just going to kind of breeze through these things and talk about some key moments. Okay, so in the next phrase, we're introducing the blue note, that flattened 5th. And then we ascend what looks to be an F major 7 arpeggio, and thinking of it that way is a nice quick way to grab it. But really it's like a D minor 9th with a flat 3 as the first note. Flat 3, 5th, flat 7, 9. And then we play this little kind of closing phrase. I really like that it doesn't just go to the root of F like you would probably expect, but it goes instead to this note, which is the 9 of your F major, where it leaves us hanging, unresolved, for us to go round again. Where this time we're going to put some variations in, just to blues it up a little bit. Feel free to mess with these variations and do your own thing with them. This time we resolve the melody. The second A section does tend to do that in most jazz standards. You know, it's like taking care of any unfinished business, so you've got a nice resolved, clean slate to start your B section. Now in my performance at the start of this video, I turned that B section into a bit of a chord melody, and that's how I'm going to teach it here. But in the lesson materials, you'll find I've also included just the very basic single note version of the melody, in case the chord melody is a little bit tough for you. In either case, it's a beautiful melody. So I'm going to teach you the chord melody version of it here. So we're going to start with a D flat major 7th. This is one of your inversions on the top 4 strings. Now this is your B flat minor 11. This is that thing we spoke about earlier on, about getting that second finger to bend inwards a little bit, so we can easily get from minor 11 to minor 7. And then we're back to this shape again. Only this time it's really B flat minor 9 instead of D flat major 7th. And then we need E flat minor 9. We're going to take basically the chord we played in the rhythm part for this, but remove the root and just use these 3 notes, the D, G and B strings. And then we're going to an A flat 7. This is a cool little voicing. Think of just your regular A flat 7 kind of chord. We're bringing the flat 7 in on the B string as well as the D string, so you get this shape: 4 on the D, 5 on the G, 7 on the B, 4 on the top E, so the first finger's barring those top 4 strings. That gives us the ability to do this part of the melody. And then we're going to bring this flat 7 down to a 13, so we can get that part of the melody. And then we play a D flat major 7th 3-note voicing, just like we did in the rhythm part for this. Then we play the next part of the melody, but we want to let those notes overlap, and we specifically want to play them with 4th and 1st fingers, because the next thing we're going to do is move them up a semitone and add the 2nd finger to the D string 6th fret. Now we have our B flat 7 with a flattened 5th. That's one of those spicy melody notes I was talking about earlier. We then unflatten that 5, taking it up to a natural 5. Try not to move your other fingers when you do that. Again, this is one of those fiddly little motions. But you can just sort of tuck that finger in out of the way. And then we're after an E flat 7. We're going to play these 3 notes here: 8 on the D, 6 on the G, 8 on the B. This is like the middle chunk of an E flat 7 A-shaped bar chord. The melody continues to climb, so that little finger moves up a semitone after the first strike of the chord. And then again we get some of these spicy notes we were hinting at earlier. We're thinking A flat 7, we're going to grab the flat 7 and the 3rd, the sharp 5, the flat 9, and then we're going to add that little finger to the 7th fret of the top E string without disturbing the rest of the chord. That gives you an A flat 7 with a sharp 5 and a flat 9, and then an A flat 7 with a sharp 5 and a sharp 9. You can see why they just call these alt for short. A flat 7 alt. You can just let your ears choose or determine what those alterations are. Then we're just going to simply recycle the first 2 bars of the B section again. So all together, so far, the B section sounds like this. And then we're just going to go to a G minor 11, where we keep hitting that top note, the 11, and then a quick C7 before returning to the usual thing for the A section. Now this time I move the melody up 1 octave, so instead of playing, go. Same for the next bit. And then we're going to piggyback that beautiful thing we did in the rhythm part where we had our resolving chord, a semitone too high and then dropped onto it. We're going to visualize this. Well, this is how I see it anyway. I'm thinking that I eventually want to get to this chord, F6-9. I want to end on that, and I don't want to put the root in there. I'm just going to use the top 4 strings. So that's from the D string down, 7, 7, 8, 8. That's your 3rd, your 6th, your 9th and your 5th. Now imagine you're going to move that up a fret so you can drop onto it. Only that's not quite good enough, because if you think about what we had here in the rhythm part, we had a flattened 5th, sharp 11 in there. So when we move this F6-9 up to F sharp or G flat 6-9, we're going to find a way to introduce that sharp 11 or flat 5. So that's going to end up with this really easy shape, barring the top 4 strings at the 8th fret with the 1st finger, and then adding the 2nd finger to the 9th fret of the B string. That gives you your G flat 6-9 with a sharp 11, and then drop it a semitone, keeping the sharp 11 for that extra bit of flavour on the resolving F6-9 chord. So that's an F6-9 with a sharp 11. With the roots it would sound like this, but we're not bothered. bothered about that. We're playing it on the top 4 strings only. Let the rhythm player deal with all that low down stuff. So I hope you've enjoyed learning this piece. I think it's one of the most beautiful jazz standards out there, and there's so much scope for creativity with this. You know, we're playing it very much true to the original, but you can do your own thing with it. Change the phrasing, put fills in here and there, make it more bluesy or more jazzy. There's so many places you can go with this. It's a beautiful melody that stands up on its own really well. Okay, now on to my recommended listening for the week. Check out Duke Ellington, of course, take a deep dive into his stuff, but I'm going to specifically recommend listening to an album of his called The Far East Suite. The whole record is excellent, but the song Farran, to me, is a real special piece of work. I mean, it's so beautiful. The way it's played, the melody, the changes. Check out some live versions as well. I mean, Johnny Hodges is just playing the thing in such a heart-achingly beautiful way. It's so good. So that's Isfahan off the Far East Suite album. Duke Ellington wrote this material along with Billy Strayhorn. Those two worked together so beautifully and wrote so many incredible pieces of music. Also check out Live at Newport. That's got to be one of the best live jazz records I've ever heard. There's a particular track on there called Diminuendo and Crescendo in Blue, and it's got this incredible, intense and insanely long sax solo on it. I think I read it was 27 choruses long or something like that, but it's absolutely brilliant and you can hear the crowd going insane. Also, Jeep's Blues off that same record is a real standout. Now for a more guitar-centric take on some of the Duke Ellington pieces, check out Joe Pass's record, Portraits of Duke Ellington. His versions of Satin Doll, Don't Get Around Much Anymore, and Caravan are standouts on that record for me. Some amazing guitar work, from complicated chord melodies to beautiful comping and incredible single-line soloing as well. So as always, thank you so much for joining me for this lesson. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please do like, comment down below, ask any questions you might have, and do subscribe. That's one of the easy ways you can support this channel. It makes a huge difference, more than people realise, and it costs you nothing. Just please hit that subscribe button and hit the notification bell if you're really feeling fruity. Alright, I'll see you next week for another lesson. Take care, guys.